The bridge between worlds, why most never see it until it's too late. Have you ever wondered if the things connecting your life, your decisions, your relationships, your beliefs, are bridges or simply illusions? I want you to pause for a moment, breathe, and ask yourself, what have I crossed in life that I never truly understood? Because today we're not talking about physical bridges. We're talking about something far more mysterious. The 7 signs of a true bridge. Not just any bridge, but the kind that connects the invisible with the visible, the soul with the body, the purpose with the path, the eternal with the temporary. And I promise you, 99% of people walk over these bridges every day without even realizing they're sacred. Why? Because most of us are trained to look outward. We're taught to chase results, rewards, recognition. But a true bridge doesn't scream. It whispers. It doesn't demand your attention. It patiently waits for your awakening. The first sign of a true bridge is that it demands discomfort before trust. Think about that. A real bridge of transformation never feels like a shortcut. Instead, it tests you. It might show up as a person who challenges your ego, a job that breaks your identity, a loss that cracks your illusion of control. These moments aren't obstacles, they're invitations. The discomfort is the toll, and trust is the currency. Ask yourself, what if everything I've been avoiding is actually the bridge I've been praying for? I once met a monk in the Himalayan silence who told me the path is not hidden, it is simply unwalked. I didn't understand at the time, but now I do. A true bridge doesn't reveal itself like a neon sign. It reveals itself slowly, like dawn through the mist. Only those who slow down, who feel rather than think, who listen rather than speak, can see it. The second sign of a true bridge is the presence of paradox. On one side, fear. On the other, faith. On one side, logic. On the other, mystery. A true spiritual bridge doesn't take you from certainty to certainty. It takes you from certainty to surrender. Have you ever had to make a decision that made no sense on paper, but in your heart felt absolutely right? That's a bridge moment. And most people miss it because they want guarantees. But let me tell you something ancient. The soul doesn't deal in guarantees. It deals in growth. Now here's the twist. Not all bridges are meant to be crossed forever. Some are meant to be crossed once and then burned. Not in anger, but in reverence. Because the third sign of a true bridge is non-return. When you cross it, something dies. Maybe your old name, your old story, your old identity. You can't go back. Even if you try, the old world no longer recognizes you. Think of the caterpillar. It doesn't go back to crawling after it becomes a butterfly. That's the sacred cost of transformation. So I ask you, what part of you is still trying to go back to a version of yourself that no longer exists? The fourth sign is one most people never notice. Silence becomes louder than noise. When you're on a true bridge, the outer world starts to fade. Notifications, opinions, distractions, they still happen, but they no longer matter. You begin to hear something else. The whisper of intuition, the hum of your higher self, the pull of something beyond words. This silence isn't empty. It's full of answers, but only if you're brave enough to listen. Most people turn up the volume of life to avoid this silence. But you're here. That means you're ready. I've filmed videos in temples that were over 1,000 years old. I've sat with sages who haven't spoken in decades. And do you know what strikes me every time? It's not what they say, it's what they don't say. A true bridge doesn't shout, it simply is. And in its presence, you either recognize yourself or you realize you've never truly met yourself. But here's the trap. Most people confuse bridges with distractions. A new job, a new relationship, a new location. These aren't bad, but they're not always bridges. The fifth sign of a true bridge is alignment, not escape. Ask yourself, am I doing this to run toward my truth or to run away from my fear? That question alone has stopped me from making some of the biggest mistakes of my life. Because every time I moved from fear, I found more fear. But when I moved from alignment, even the difficult paths felt holy. And what about the sixth sign? This one's subtle. A true bridge activates your ancient memory, not your brain's memory, your soul's memory. You walk into a place, meet a person, read a line in a book, and something inside you remembers. It's like you've been there before. You suddenly feel timeless. That's not nostalgia, that's recognition. The bridge is reminding you of who you were before the world told you who to be. And that recognition, it's the beginning of awakening. Have you ever felt that? Like a piece of your soul just clicked into place? That's not random. That's sacred. That's the universe saying, yes, this is the way. And now the seventh sign, the rarest one. The one that only reveals itself when you've crossed the bridge completely. You become the bridge. Read that again. You become the bridge. Your presence becomes the path for others. Not because you're trying to teach, but because your very being is a transmission. You've walked through fire, and now your eyes carry embers of truth. You've faced the void, and now your silence comforts others. You've surrendered control, and now your very breath creates space for others to rise. Let me ask you something terrifying and beautiful. What if the greatest gift you'll ever give the world is the healing you did in private? You see, these 7 signs aren't just signs. They're stages. And most of the world never makes it past the first one. Why? Because discomfort scares them. Paradox confuses them. Non-return terrifies them. Silence bores them. Alignment challenges them. Ancient memory overwhelms them. And becoming the bridge, that requires complete ego death. You are the bridge, becoming the path others walk toward the light. Have you ever truly felt what it means to become something, not just do something or understand something, but to embody it so deeply that your presence alone changes the world around you? When we talk about becoming the bridge, we're not speaking metaphorically. We're talking about a lived spiritual reality. A time comes in your journey when you stop searching for answers and you start being the answer. Not in arrogance, but in surrender. You no longer strive, you align. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer teach, you emit. This is where the path transforms from something you walk into something that flows through you. You become a passage, a doorway, a living, breathing bridge between fear and love, between confusion and clarity, between the human and the divine. But this isn't a comfortable place to live. In fact, it's one of the loneliest and most sacred places you'll ever be. Because once you become the bridge, you no longer fully belong to either side. You see the pain of the people who are still stuck where you used to be, and you feel the pull of where you're going next, beyond what language can explain. You're stretched. You're in between. And that space, that sacred tension, is where your power lives. This is why so many people fall apart right before their breakthrough. They feel lost, confused, fragmented. But in truth, they're just becoming. They're dissolving the old self to make space for the bridge self, the version of you that doesn't just walk the path, but is the path. So I ask you a question that might make your soul ache a little. Are you willing to be misunderstood for the sake of being who you truly are? See, the world doesn't need more information. It needs more integration. It needs people who don't just preach truth, they embody it. It needs people who have cried on the bathroom floor and still chose to love. People who've lost everything and still chose to give. People who faced their own darkness and chose to become light. That's what a true bridge does. It holds the weight of others, not by rescuing them, but by showing them what's possible. When you become the bridge, you don't pull people across. You simply exist in such alignment that others remember they can walk too. Your peace becomes a mirror. Your presence becomes a compass. Your scars become sacred texts written in flesh and fire. And yet, this requires something that most of the world avoids at all costs: radical self-honesty. You cannot become the bridge if you are still lying to yourself. You cannot carry others if your foundation is cracked by self-betrayal. You must face the places where you are still pretending, still performing, still polishing a mask that was never meant to be worn. And when you do that, when you strip it all away, you will find something terrifying and beautiful. Nothing. The void, the silence, the not knowing. And in that emptiness, you will finally hear the voice of your soul saying, "Now we begin." Because the bridge cannot be built from ego. It can only be built from essence. Let me tell you something I've learned from walking through deserts, temples, and abandoned places of prayer. The most sacred bridges are invisible. They don't look dramatic. They don't feel special. But when you're on them, something inside of you cracks open. You begin to see the divine in mundane things. A stranger's smile becomes a transmission. A breath becomes a blessing. A shadow becomes a teacher. And you realize the bridge was never outside of you. It was always you. You were the connection. You were the portal. And every moment you lived, every loss, every heartbreak, every surrender was laying stone after stone in the sacred architecture of your being. You were building the bridge by living your truth, even when no one was watching. So now I'll ask you something that only your soul can answer. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to arrive and instead became the arrival point for others? Not by force, not by ego, but by simply existing as your most whole, honest, aligned self. What if the healing you fought for is the healing someone else is praying for? What if your scars are someone else's path to safety? What if your presence alone is the signpost someone needs to remember their own light? You don't need to be famous. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. Because when you're real, you become rare. And when you're rare, you become radiant. And when you're radiant, you become the bridge. The sacred weight of being the bridge, walking with fire, standing in light. There is a moment in every spiritual journey where we realize the bridge we've become is not just for others, it's for us too. We often think we're only here to help, to guide, to support others in crossing their own inner chaos. But the truth is, every time someone walks across the bridge of our presence, every time they feel more seen, more safe, more awakened because we dared to live authentically, we are crossing it too. Again and again. Being the bridge isn't a destination. It's a continuous surrender. It's the courage to remain open in a world that wants you to shut down. It's the strength to remain soft when your past tells you to harden. It's the wisdom to remain still when everything in you wants to run. And in that stillness, that softness, that openness, you become the invitation for others to remember who they are. But this path is not without cost. People will project onto you. They'll misunderstand your silence. They'll misinterpret your compassion as weakness. They'll question your motives because you no longer fit into the old boxes. Some will try to walk across you too quickly, hoping to avoid their own pain through your light. And others will fear you because your presence reminds them of everything they've buried. This is the sacred weight of being the bridge. You are not here to carry everyone. You are here to walk in truth so that others remember they can walk too. And sometimes that means standing firm and letting people fall off the bridge if they refuse to walk with their own feet. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. True bridges don't carry, they connect. And every authentic connection requires responsibility from both ends. You'll notice something else too. As you walk deeper into this path of embodying the bridge, you'll start to lose things. Old roles, old relationships, old identities, and it'll feel like death. But what's really happening is resurrection. You're not losing anything that's truly yours. You're shedding what was rented, borrowed, inherited from fear. The deeper you go, the more you become spiritually weightless. Not because you don't feel, but because you no longer cling. And in that release, you become a vessel. You become available for the sacred. And when the sacred moves through you, you'll feel something indescribable, like lightning wrapped in grace. You'll say things that surprise you. You'll know things without studying them. You'll act in alignment without overthinking. And in those moments you realize you are no longer the one crossing the bridge. You are the one the bridge is crossing through. But let's ground this in reality. What does this look like in daily life? It looks like choosing presence over productivity. It looks like listening deeply instead of rushing to respond. It looks like holding space when someone is falling apart without trying to fix them. It looks like crying when you need to cry and laughing without guilt when joy visits you. It looks like forgiving yourself 1,000 times and still showing up with love the next day. The spiritual bridge is not built in ashrams or temples alone. It's built in kitchens, in hospitals, in traffic, in boardrooms. Wherever you are, the bridge is waiting to be built in your next breath, your next choice, your next act of integrity. You don't need robes or incense. You need sincerity. You need presence. You need the willingness to be real when it would be easier to pretend. And yet there will still be days when you feel like the bridge is crumbling under your feet. Days when you question everything. Days when the old you whispers, "Turn back. This is too much." And in those moments, remember this: the ego screams when it's dying. The mind panics when the soul is taking the lead. It's okay to feel afraid, but you're not here to be fearless. You're here to be faithful, faithful to the bridge, faithful to the unfolding, faithful to the unseen intelligence that led you here in the first place. And if you ever doubt your path, just look at who you've become. Not the titles, not the achievements, but your heart, your capacity to love, your ability to sit in stillness, your readiness to speak truth even when your voice shakes. That's your real resume. That's the bridge. Let me ask you a question that might change your life. What if your very existence is someone else's answered prayer? What if your healing is the permission they've been waiting for? What if your survival is the proof they need to believe in their own? You see, we're not meant to walk this alone. We're meant to ripple. We're meant to echo. We're meant to reflect each other like sacred mirrors. And when you become the bridge, you don't just walk for yourself, you walk for your lineage, your community, your unborn descendants, your forgotten ancestors. You walk for the ones who didn't have the strength. And in doing so, you liberate timelines. You collapse karma. You rewrite destiny. That's the power of one awakened soul. That's the weight and wonder of being the bridge. And finally, when you've walked through enough fire, when you've held enough silence, when you've surrendered enough ego, something magical happens. You stop trying to be the bridge and you realize you are the sacred architecture itself. Your breath is a prayer. Your gaze is a blessing. Your words are medicine. You don't need to try anymore. You are. And when you walk into a room, people feel it. Not because you're flashy, but because you're true. And in today's world, truth is the most radiant frequency there is. You become a lighthouse without trying to fix the sea. You become a flame that warms without needing to burn. You become a doorway that opens without needing to close anything behind you. So now I leave you with one final question. Let it echo in your heart for days, maybe even years. Are you ready to stop crossing bridges and become the one others walk upon to reach their own light? Not to save them, not to change them, but to remind them that they too can rise. They too can awaken. They too can become bridges for others. You've crossed enough. You've searched enough. Now is the time to be, to walk with fire, to stand in light, to live as the bridge.